Hey guys, thanks for checking out this clip of the So Yeah podcast. If you like what you hear, give it a like. If you want to hear more, give it a subscribe. You can hear our full podcast on Spotify, link down below. So, yeah. That being said, what do we think didn't work about the movie?
There wasn't much I disliked in this movie, to be honest with you. It's one of my favorite 90s Batman movie, if you want to call it that, since it was 89. But uh, there were some Joker moments I didn't care too much for. I didn't care too much for the museum thing. The parade was okay. It wasn't bad. Uh, I think really the only complaint I can find in the movie is I hate Michael Gow as Alfred. He brings nothing to the film to me other than he was Alfred for all four of them, despite everyone else being recast.
Yeah,
I really feel that he needed to be more of a father figure, like Alfred is portrayed in all of my favorite Batman series,
yeah.
and have a personality that, I can spit out some knowledge, but if you mess with me, you might end up finding out my true past.
Yeah, yeah.
Like he could actually stand a chance in a fight, like all the other Batman Alfreds that are portrayed.
For real, yeah. And Cody.
I would say I didn't mind Michael Gough as much. I mean, I get that he's not like most portrayals of Alfred. I feel like my biggest gripe with this film and with this, I can't remember, mainly with this film is that Batman kills, like unequivocally, like he kills people in this film. And like Batman's no kill rule, his no kill code is so quintessential to the character. And it's just like you get so much right about Batman, but you got like this one really big piece wrong. I don't know, I feel like for the sake of an exciting couple set pieces. But you know, that's just my biggest gripe for me because like I really like that's one of the most interesting aspects about Batman is that he has that code. And so, you know, to get into this Batman film that gets the atmosphere right and the visuals pretty good and the score right and all the stuff, and you're in it and you're invested, and it's like watching a moving Batman comic, and then all of a sudden Batman throws a dude out of like a 8-story bell tower to his obvious death and then kills Joker pretty directly. It's just kind of just like, oh what? Why is he killing people? And then it's also like a little bit inconsistent because in the factory when he first fights Jack Nicholson and he bounces the bullet back to his face with this little gauntlet thing, he falls into the vat, and Batman tries to save him and pull him out of the vat. But by the end of this film, he's killing this man and killing his minions, and so it's just like, well, which is it? Does he value the lives of these criminals or does he not? So you know, it just kind of it creates a lot of not a lot, but it creates some inconsistencies for me that I feel hold the film back from being like the ultimate Batman movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the end of the, like in the beginning, he didn't know that Jack Napier was the guy who killed his parents. And spoiler alert, at the end, he figured out that Jack Napier was the guy who killed his parents. Like, wouldn't isn't it kind of trying to portray that, oh, well, he's angrier now than he was, so he's just plowing through these people because now he's ticked off at him?
I mean, maybe, but I don't know. It's I feel like Batman, like we equate vengeance with Batman, but he's not really like revenge. I feel like I don't know. The character has more discipline than that. Even if he does, there have been moments in the comics because in the comics it was not Jack Napier, it wasn't the Joker. Obviously, it was just some random thug named Joe Chill. And so there have been several comic issues where he's found Joe Chill, and he did not kill Joe Chill, despite the fact that this is the man that is the source of all of his woes and who essentially galvanized him to become Batman. So I don't know. For me, it just kind of threw it off. But I understand why some people aren't as bothered by it.
Yeah.
I could say that I forgot to mention that. I mean, you hit the point too. I could grumble that I wasn't too fond, especially when I became more understanding of Batman lore. I didn't like them making Jack Napier as Batman's parents' killer, because I think it kind of it gave too much story to the Joker.
I agree.
The Joker doesn't need a story. He's just crazy.
Yeah. I totally agree.
Agreed.
To make him that essential makes him too human. You don't want the Joker to appear to be too human. Um, excuse me. What didn't work for me was Michael Uslan, if I'm saying that right, who was one of the earliest people to get involved with the movie's development, like 10 years before that, and Tim Burton were both into the idea of making a more serious, dark side style of Batman. But, and this is going to probably, tick a lot of folks off, I felt like I wasn't watching a truly serious Batman movie. It definitely felt dark, and it definitely had Tim Burton's like noir gothic tonage, but it still felt deeply entrenched in its comic book roots. Like it still felt like I was watching a cartoon in a lot of places. It never felt truly serious. It just felt like a dark cartoon. I also wasn't a fan of how minimalist the plot was. I know that a minimalist plot can work sometimes, and many will argue that the point of Batman is the mystery and not the feels. And I agree with that, but with a character as dynamic as Batman, I've always felt that he needed a more dynamic plot line, especially in a live action epic. And even The Mask of Phantasm, which was neither of those things, had, in my opinion, a more meatier plot. I didn't care about Bruce Wayne, which is a tale as old as time flaw that almost all of the Batman films have, once again, in my opinion. I didn't feel suspense from the Joker's plan. I was just enthralled by the performance more than the person. Just all in all, I did not find the story involving at all.
I mean, I understand. I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I've stated this before, but I feel like a lot of people share that sentiment. I feel like we've kind of come a long ways and kind of come the opposite direction with that, where now it's just like people are almost ashamed that Batman is a comic book character. So for me, like watching this, it I appreciated the fact that it still kind of felt like just a dark comic book or a dark cartoon. I appreciated that aspect of it. Because you're acknowledging the source of where these stories come from. And I kind of understand what you mean. I feel like you can still have an affecting story that's about the mystery with Batman. Once again, I direct everyone's attention to Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah, and like
Because
yeah. Go ahead, Cody. I'm sorry.
no, you're fine. It's just because, that's it kind of proves it bears that out because there are some very villain centric episodes, but there's also some very very good meaty mystery stories that involve Bruce Wayne and Batman, what makes him Batman and why he's doing this and how that contributes to him figuring the case out. So, it can be done. It is just you really need to put your nose to the grindstone and work it out to make the pieces fit together. But it is possible.
Yeah, I do agree. Like, I wasn't trying to say, Cody, that I was ashamed or didn't like the idea of staying somewhat true to the comic book roots. Like, because again, The Mask of Phantasm was the ultimate animated Batman film, and that did feel like it was a comic book, but they still managed to make it serious and dark. So I guess what I'm saying is, I felt like this did not blend comic book and serious well, even though their goal was to make it serious. Like I felt like it was all comic book and no seriousness. I'm not trying to say that I don't want it to resemble the comic book. The best way to portray Batman is to be somewhat true to the comic. I just want to clarify that.
Oh yeah, no, I get you. I know what you're saying because there are elements that are, especially from a modern perspective, a bit goofy. Um, the the scene where he has like the Vicky Vale. He has the reporter there in the art museum. Like it did highlight that Joker is just crazy, which I think was the point of that scene, is just to show you this guy is for loco. He's out of his mind. But it did get a bit too goofy. And there's a couple moments like that throughout the film where it got real goofy. Um, so and then like the parade where Joker pulls out that revolver. uh, that's like as long as his leg. But in like the previous scenes, he was walking normally when he really should be walking like he has a peg leg. If there's a gun that big shoved down his pants.
Yeah, I'm compelled to agree with you on that one.
I, you know, I feel like it might have been a little bit of commercialism that caused it too, because they wanted to keep kind of the humor and campiness in there to keep it more appealing to everyone. And it might have been a symptom of it being from the 80s too. Who knows?
Just that
Also,
campiness. Yeah.
and like I said, someone in the group might have also been still trying to imitate the campiness from the 60s Batman, I think, as well.
Trying to gently drift away from it. Yeah.
Yeah. You can also see the commercialism in the choice of using Prince in one of the songs for
Yeah. Yeah.
the movie itself. So